Welcome home. This is Audio EXP for July 26, and the episode title is Horror. White Wolf needs humans, uses AI. Imperial Media Productions won the RPG Publisher Spotlight this month. I asked Gillian, the one-man talent behind the studio, why he left computer games. He had been at Ubisoft for 10 years. First as a level designer on Heroes of Might and Magic, and then with the writing and creative teams. Eventually, though, he felt trapped and was no longer excited by the games. Now as Imperial Media, he is doing innovative stuff with tabletop games and is absolutely worth checking out. I'm going to talk about horror for most of this podcast and White Wolf and AI shortly. But I think the biggest news of the week is GameFound buying fellow crowdfunding platform Indiegogo. We're told that the two sites will continue separately, but Indiegogo will use GameFound's tech stack. Crucially, crowdfunding projects will be cross-platform discoverable, so you might be on Indiegogo and get recommendations for GameFound campaigns. The deal was likely attractive for GameFound as a way to buy eyeballs. They're getting in front of people like me who don't mind taking a risk on backing a crowdfunding campaign. Given that, it makes more sense to try and maximise both platforms' user base. And I guess, for now, keeping them as separate but linked makes sense. Indiegogo, I fear, has a more significant problem with ghost campaigns than GameFound, by which I mean campaigns that look good and then vanish pretty promptly once you have backers' money. GameFound, which is more generally about tabletop games, feels like less of a target because unproven studios can rarely attract the backing that trusted game designers do. Kickstarter must be feeling a little heat. Now, White Wolf. The newly recreated studio has taken the World of Darkness back in-house. A few weeks ago, they hired Jess Alanzalo as creative director, but only this week seem to have gotten serious about recruiting others and shared some job ads. Here are the positions that White Wolf needs: lead game designer, commissioning art director, editor or rules manager, operations director, and producer. It strikes me as a little odd that they didn't have, their lead game designer sorted before announcing they were taking the World of Darkness back. Perhaps they did, and now there's been a change of plans. According to the job spec, the lead game designer must be based in Sweden and have at least 5 years of experience in game design, and is not required to be familiar with the World of Darkness. Prior experience with Vampire the Masquerade and other titles is a nice to have, but it's not a requirement. If you keep scrolling down the job pages, you will get to a quiz in which you reassure White Wolf that you can come and work in Sweden. It's here, and near the very top, that the studio says they have embraced AI for collaboration and productivity. As part of your application, White Wolf would like to know about your experience in using AI. Importantly, White Wolf does not say they use generative AI in the final output of their games. We've seen backlash against studios who got too close to AI. Evil Genius insists that they don't, but they still suffered much heat. And while there are thousands of downloads on DriveThruRPG that use generative AI images, the topic is still a hot potato. Most Office software uses AI now. Slack does, Google does, Microsoft does, email spam filters and antivirus software do. White Wolf may be utilizing AI for storyboards, which use numerous images which will never likely see the light of day, as well as note-taking and calendar coordination. I think we'll just have to watch this space. An artist who doesn't use AI is Zat Nicotel, and the cartographer has just given his backers the 1 mile. That's a mile-long set of battle maps designed to be played through. In area terms, that means 1 million square feet. And should you have plenty of ink and print off the battle maps for real life use, then the 1 mile will stretch for 90 feet. Okay, let's be brave and head back to horror. How many RPGs have you played that came in sealed packets? Hellfinder does. Hellfinder is a modern horror hack of Pathfinder by Jason Bullman. Jason wrote Pathfinder, so he's hacking his own system. I was lucky enough to get an interview with Jason, which you can read on the blog, and I asked about this self-hack. He said, I get this question a lot. It's true that Pathfinder 2e engine is built for high fantasy, but much of that comes from the character power scaling and how it directly relates to the monster and treasure design rules. But beneath that there is a very tidy game engine with a simple proficiency system, an elegant combat engine, and a robust action resolution mechanic that has degrees of success built into the core game. So, if you change the character advancement system and present an entirely new set of monsters based on the system, you can fundamentally alter the pace and feel of the game. Jason wasn't the only designer I got to talk to this week about horror. I talked to Justin and Chili about Our Brilliant Rune. How did I manage this? Well, Hellfinder is crowdfunding on BackaKit, and Our Brilliant Rune has a starter set coming to Kickstarter. In Our Brilliant Rune, there is the real danger of the rune itself. I like that the rune is weak against fire and alcohol, as both bring flamboyant parties to mind for me. I wanted to know why Justin had picked those weaknesses. I won't read his whole answer, just the first part. One of the important parts of the setting is that you can't beat the rune overall. However, you can definitely eke out individual victories over ruined horrors or mitigate the rune that has previously claimed an estate or other location. So we needed some way for players to do this, some in-world tool or substance that could turn back those entropic particles. What stood out for me was the reminder that Our Brilliant Rune is that you cannot beat the rune, not in the long term. One more I can do. This week I also talked to Ashton Baker. Ashton is Cataclysm Games and is perhaps not as well known as the other two designers, but we're keen to give indie studios equal support here at Geek Native. Ashton has a new-ish TTRPG, Sins of Our Mother, on itch and drive-thru. You'll need your adult content turned on for drive-thru RPG, and that's one of the topics we covered. Ashton had told me that horror is a way for us to safely explore aspects of ourselves, so I challenged him on that, asking how his games helped. He said, horror isn't something we get access to in our daily lives, not safely at least. Yet, emotions like fear and disgust are undeniably part of us, and engaging with them reveals something about ourselves. One of my goals as a game designer is to help people imagine themselves in horrifying situations, and thus explore aspects of themselves they couldn't otherwise. More traditional narratives are great, but high adventure can only reveal so much about our nature. Horror is where we get access to the truest and most primordial parts of ourselves. Do you agree? I must admit, I've been invited to tabletop games in which the PCs are based on the players. I've always refused. That's not my thing. I play tabletop games for escapism and not to be me for a while. Not that being me is a bad thing. I'm a middle-aged white man with a job. Statistically, it's great to be me and I have all the advantages. But I am not an angry halfling who just wants to cook wyvern meat to find out whether it tastes like chicken. It's cooking wyvern meat that I game for. This week, Soul Muppet Publishing released a free quick start for Doom Spiral. Oh yes, this is a horror tabletop game inspired by the likes of Dark Souls and Elden Ring. It's almost as if our real-world news is filled with headlines that are encouraging large numbers of game designers to explore horror themes. In Doom Spiral, characters explore a world ruined, rotten, and in terminal decline. It's not all tabletop games this week, but there's more horror to come. I hadn't read The Count of Monte Cristo until this month, and did so after reading David DeBell's graphic novel The Curse of Monte Cristo. While Dumas hints at otherworldly influence, the bell reimagines the story as if there was direct demonic meddling. I liked it, but I can imagine purists might have concerns. Before we get to the outros and a competition, I want to flag that Mongoose Publishing has released an unofficial soundtrack for Traveller Frontier. You can get it from Drive-Thru Fiction. Since this is a podcast, I don't get to show you things, but I can, in fair use, let you hear the first 30 seconds of the public preview that Mongoose and Sona Village have already released. Okay, there are two bundles in our outro and both at the bundle of holding. The first is the Advanced Adventures Mega Bundle, which is an OSR, and the second is the Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland from Super Savage Systems, which is much harder to describe, except as a sort of toxic adventure style horror. Yes, even more horror. But we're not going to leave you on a horror, and instead we'll be far more wholesome. And if you're in the UK, then you can enter a competition to win one of 3 copies of Adventuring Family. This is a tabletop RPG crafted by experts to be a great way to help kids who might need some extra and careful attention. One final thing. Next week, the Edinburgh Festival season will be kicking off, and it will last until the end of August. We're going to try and keep up with Geek Native despite being stretched very thin. Apologies in advance if schedules slip or episodes are missed. On that note, that's a wrap. Watch out for the Endless Despair, and see you next week.